Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey and Paul Bennett here on Tuesday the 15th of September 2015 at about 1400 in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time. Now, obviously I haven't talked to you for about 3 days now actually. Not that much has happened. I went to church, of course, on Sunday, the 13th, read at the 8 o'clock service, and then I stayed around for daggone near about an hour, a little, not quite an hour and a half, shooting the breeze with people as they came in, and you know, at the much vaunted coffee hour. I could give a crap about coffee hour, but that's where you pick up all the poop that's going on in the church. We now are hearing some sort of, almost like, sounds like a cell phone ringing from across the creek. Well, that's neither here nor there. There's always something going on here on the island of Peace. Speaking of which, yesterday about getting on toward 3 in the afternoon, two fellows from a company called Igel Construction came up the driveway and knocked on the door, and they were looking, they're going to do the bridge and the portion of the road work from the Powell Road intersection, new Powell Road intersection, down to the almost Africa Road, you know, heading to the east. And he says it's the first big bridge job they've ever had. He says they've done a lot of smaller bridges, but this is the first truly big bridge job. And he explained to me what they're going to do. They're going to just drive in extra columns, you know, I-beam columns down to bedrock, and you know, and then put new I-beams across the roadbed and do that rather than, you know, pour concrete piers and stuff. You know, on the plans it looked like they were going to pour like 4, you know, elongated concrete piers, but that's not what they're going to do. The bike path will be on the far side of the road, and then they're going to actually have a bike path go underneath the bridge on the other side of the creek, the far side of the creek, for a future connection to the Westerville bike trail system and all that kind of nonsense. The Acorn Farms people are going to get a tunnel under the road, an actual tunnel under the road.
Instead of a traffic light.
Instead of a traffic light, and that way they don't have to, you know,
Stop
try,
and wait for
try to get through the traffic situation when they go over to their fields here to the north of us, northeast of us, more accurately. So that was interesting to talk to him. What he was really looking for was a place to put his construction trailer, you know, the superintendent's trailer where he runs the job, and well, the foreman's trailer actually. I was talking to the superintendent, and the foreman of the job was with him, and it was nice to meet both these guys. And you know, the only transformer he could see that was near where he might want to put his trailer was right down at the end of my driveway. And I said, well, given what other people are going to be doing, you don't want to put your trailer there. And I talked about, you know, go up on the hill, and you know, and there by where the corner is going to be, and they can run, you know, they can easily run a line over to there and give them power, you know, they always put in these temporary meters on these little stakes anyway for these construction trailers. And he said, well, we'd like a place to dump a bunch of dirt and park equipment. And I said I was specifically told that wasn't going to happen on my, on my residue property. I said, but here, let me show you what the state's actually taken from me, and I'm sure they'll be fine with you parking anything and everything up on what they've taken. And so we walked up and I showed him, and okay. So, I mean, it was an interesting little. I was glad to meet this guy. I've always had sort of a soft spot in my heart for Igel Construction because I took care of a kid at Children's Hospital who was 7, and this was in 1974. As a medical student, and he had been in there for several months with a staphylococcal pleural space abscess, and he eventually, resolved it and did fine and left the hospital. And so he'd be about 48 now. I've often wondered what happened to him, but he said he's not familiar with this fellow having stayed with the company or gone into the family business, so to speak. So that was really the only substantive news that happened yesterday. And then this morning, this morning there's a very fine day. Not much to report. Yes. I must now tell them the Dee Dee story. Well, first of all, as you've heard me mention, I like to go to bed fairly early. And, Paul does too, but maybe not quite as early as I do. Last night, go away, you ground hornets.
8:30.
Yeah, but I usually like to go in there about 7:45, 7:30. Well, last night I went in around 10 till 7. And I was tired. So our neighbor Liz called just after I drifted off to sleep. And she didn't really want anything, so okay.
Nothing important, you just told me that.
So I emailed her this morning when I got up and said, I'm sorry I missed your call. And then at 11:30 at night, 11:30 at night now, phone's ringing. Well, when the phone rings at 11:30 at night, you think somebody's died or been in a car wreck or some damn thing. Well, that's the way I grew up anyway.
Yeah.
No, it was this woman from church. She wanted us to pray for her friend David, no last name. David, no last name, who is having, quote, and this is a quote, prostrate surgery. Today. Apparently he's already had it. Hope it went well. And she just wanted me to know about that at 11:30 at night. And more accurately, she wanted the rest of the prayer group to know about it at 11:30 at night. Well, guess what? I was up. I couldn't go back to sleep. So at midnight on the dot, I sent out the email to the prayer group about David and his prostrate surgery. Hope it went well. I do. I sound sarcastic, but I do mean I do hope it went well. Those can be nasty problems. Well, okay. It's getting that time of year, guys. The mountain ash berries are turning. They're turning red. It's going to be real pretty here shortly. Paul has been stewing with various insurance matters this morning, I think.
Yeah. It made you suck damn sense, but I did it.
Okay.
The word on it was like there was no way, like after you finish this whole survey type thing, there wasn't anything, like, okay.
Well, that was a rather truncated ending, wasn't it? My time signature on my little Canon had started to flash orange, which means you're going to be cut off. And so we were. But, the essence of Paul's story, which you couldn't really hear because of the traffic and the various beeping noises from across the creek, was that he spends a huge amount of time on this disability insurance paperwork for his for this sternal clavicular chest wall injury he had here recently, and so he was thrashing around a fair amount of time this morning with this, pretty much about daggone near 3.5, 4 hours. But it seems to have gotten sorted out finally, so that's good. The fella, to complete the story about this Igel interaction, I mentioned to him, I said, now my understanding is the plans, and I said, I have 3 sets of plans that have, that directly concern my property. They all show this little concrete barrier that prevents me from turning left, i.e. north, into my driveway when I'm heading east, returning home. And essentially that's the only way I approach my house. Maybe twice a year, if that, I come in from the east heading west. So I would just turn right. Free Joe's driveway, Free Joe's driveway. Remember that? Free Joe's driveway. And I have a feeling John Kasich has other things on his mind right now, though, than treating somebody equitably and justly. Well, anyway, leaving that little thing aside, he pulled out plans and he says, yeah, and he says, yeah, it's still there. I mean, it's there. It's there. He says, he became kind of visibly distressed about this. He says he was from Zanesville and his foreman's from Zanesville, and they sort of got talking and said, they did that down on some street in Zanesville, and about 4 businesses had to close because people couldn't turn left, and I said, it's going to be a major inconvenience for me at the best of times. He says, I'm going to talk to the people about this, the ODOT people about this, and just see if we can work something out. I said, I'm not guaranteeing. I said, I understand you're not guaranteeing anything. I'm delighted that you're aware of the issue, the problem, and think that that's a bit of overkill. So it's it was interesting. The only bit of emotion I got from the foreman, who didn't say a word throughout any of this until this particular little point was raised, came with the realization I wouldn't be able to turn left into my property. So who knows how things might percolate along. We shall see. So on that note, as the ground hornets fly all over around about me, I'll say bye-bye to you two.